Thank you for joining us this morning for our City Council work session. We'll go ahead and get started. Connie, could you please call the roll?
Cheatham.
Here.
Lurick.
Here.
Mangum.
Here.
Mansfield. Nichols.
Here.
Paulson.
Here.
Black.
Here. Thank you. We'll move to agenda item number 2 is United Seniors Project Update and Support Letter Request. United Seniors Project representatives will be present to update the council on their fundraising efforts for a new seniors facility and request an updated letter of support and endorsement from the council regarding the need for a facility to meet the changing demands of seniors in the community. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Appreciate being put on the agenda. A couple years ago, the council at that point gave us a letter of recommendation, or a letter of support, I should say. And I thought it would be good to update the council since your membership has changed significantly from 2.5 years ago. And also to ask for a updated letter. Let me introduce myself. I'm Phil Jocelyn. I'm the president of United Seniors Project. I'm also on the board for New Knowledge Adventures, and we're here today to talk to you about what we feel is a real opportunity for the community and for seniors. United Seniors Project, our mission is to come up with a facility that supports and enhances the opportunity for lifelong learning and also for physical activities. It would be a gathering place for social engagement, wellness education, the enhancement of physical, mental, social, and emotional health. The vision is really for mind, body, and spirit, trying to have a place that would enhance all of those. I'm going through the multicolored handout. I'm on the third page of that. A couple of letters of support, one from Councilman Cheatham and also from Candy Truly Ames at ISU. Next page, page 4, is kind of a brief history. New Knowledge Adventures, the local chapter of American Association of Retired Persons, the Snake River New Horizons Band, ISU's Continuing Education and Workforce Training, and the Pocatello Senior Activity Center have all worked together at various times to come up with this project that we're considering. One of the challenges that seniors have is that the existing facility is too small to handle all of the various needs and the various activities that seniors are looking for these days, especially as far as physical activity and socialization. Also, classrooms, the rooms there are quite small. New Knowledge Adventures is probably the main member of United Seniors Project. This semester we had 476 members. Last year, when you look at the fall and spring semester, we had 897 members. This semester, we had about 120 different classes. We have people that come to these classes from Pocatello, Blackfoot, American Falls, Aberdeen, surrounding areas. We also Zoom many of those classes where we can to make them available to those that are housebound, homebound, or when there's weather-related issues. So we've looked at, we're using Liberty Hall, which is our main facility for the lectures that we sponsor. The room, the largest room they have there would hold approximately 100 people. The Elks Club is where many of our motion and fitness classes are held. We're getting close to capacity on that. There's several different sessions of line dancing classes. And so meeting in the upstairs meeting room at the Elks works well for that. We do also have quite a few classes that are at the Senior Activity Center. One of the challenges there is that most of those rooms are quite small. so it's hard to get many people into those classes. We've looked at different facilities around the community. At one point, we looked at Bonneville School, and we approached the school district about it. We didn't have the funds available to buy that building when it went up for auction. That now is, that block is now home to numerous new homes, and a lot of new young families are moving into that area, which is probably a real good shot in the arm for the Bonneville neighborhood. We looked at Calvary Chapel. We looked at the Center 151 building. We looked at the Farmers Insurance building out south of town. We looked at some of the city shop buildings shortly after they became vacant, and the shop moved to the new facility out on Garrett Way. It's hard to find a combination of a building that has either suitable or adaptable space for what we're looking for, that has the adequate parking that we need. Seniors like to be as close as they can to the meeting building, the venue itself, and then also affordability. We've looked at bare ground. We looked at a lot over near Winco, commercial lot that's there. I believe it's still for sale. We zeroed in on some property that's on East Lander between 3rd and 4th. Near the Sterling building. If you've driven by there, you might have seen a sign that the state AARP offices gave us a small grant for. So as we look at coming up with a facility, a gathering place for seniors, it's been quite a challenge. We have looked at the need that's there. We became a 501c3. We've come up with a facility development plan, business plan, financial stability plan, and then we initiated fundraising. To this point, we've raised probably $150,000 or so. We have currently available about $110,000. The difference between those two has been some fundraising expenses, a phase 1 environmental study on the property that we're looking at. And what we have is we've agreed with the owners on options to buy the property, where we've given them a small amount of money now, and they are holding the property for us for approximately a year. And if we don't raise the funds to buy it, then we have the option to renew that option for another year. And they've been very agreeable with us. We've already had to renew it once. Page 6 gives you a rough idea of what the space would look like. We'd have a large auditorium holding a couple hundred people. There would be a stage there where the Snake River New Horizons Band and other different community events could use the stage in the auditorium. There'd be a large area for physical activity, a dining area, a kitchen. Some of these rooms are labeled showing who could possibly use the rooms at some point. We started the capital campaign, as I mentioned, and we're currently meeting with potential donors, benefactors, businesses, corporations, looking to complete phase 1 of our project, which is just to acquire the property and have it in hand so we can then expand and go on. And then on page 8, just a photo showing the board we have. We have board members that represent NKA, AARP, and the Snake River New Horizons Band, as well as members that just represent the community at large. So that's a real high-level, fast history, I guess, of United Seniors Project. And then going to the letter, I guess, that's in your packet, and I handed out the same letter. At this point, when this letter was written, the Senior Activity Center, well, let me back up. Mayor Bladd had formed an ad hoc committee that Councilmember Cheatham worked with the various senior groups in town, trying to come up with a solution that would meet the needs of all seniors in the community, including the nutrition program at the Senior Activity Center. Since the letter was written, the board at the Senior Activity Center has backed away from being part of United Seniors Project. I can't speak for them. But it's my understanding that they want to make sure that they don't do anything that might jeopardize funding for the nutrition program they have for low and moderate income seniors. So they just said that they seem to like the idea, but they don't want to be part of it at this point. So attached to the letter that's dated November of 21 is some proposed wording to kind of update that. It identifies that the efforts are from the New Knowledge Adventures, the New Horizons Band, the local chapter of AARP, and then all of them coming together as United Seniors Project to fundraise for a new facility. It would have space for physical activities, educational opportunities, cultural events, and other things that seniors these days are looking for. So our request is for you to, if you're so agreeable, is to give us a new letter of support. At this point, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council? I have one. What's the intent of the letter, other than just show the support?
Just to show support.
Just show the support.
Yes.
There's no grants or any of that stuff that you're looking at that it would help?
Not at this point,
Okay.
unless the city wants to. No, not at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess one of my board members reminded me that I guess we could have one from you too, Mr. Mayor, if you'd be interested in giving us a similar letter.
Sure.
We just want to be able to go to potential donors and show them that this is something that has the support of the Pocatello, the city of Pocatello. We're also going to be talking with City of Chubbuck and also the county commissioners, asking them for similar letters of support, just so we can show that this is something that the governmental agencies, the governmental bodies here in the county support it.
Well, I think that's a great idea. It makes total sense to me, so.
Thank you.
Yes, Council President.
I've had long conversations with several of your board members, and you mentioned a little bit earlier the Senior Activity Center and their possible reasons for not being part of this project. But my conversations that I've had have all been centered around how this is not meant to replace what they're doing, that the two would complement each other, and that it would be a benefit to the community to have both things going on. So I was wondering if you could just speak to that idea.
That's the way I see it as well. And I think our board, I could speak for the board in saying that as well. The Senior Activity Center right now, its primary function is the nutrition program for those low and moderate income folks. The rooms that they have are relatively small, and it's just not conducive to socialization or the type of classes that we whatever. So we see this facility that we're looking at, it would have the auditorium, it would have a large space gymnasium, let's call it, as well as craft rooms and smaller classrooms, as well as a dining area, and probably a space for either a warming kitchen or maybe even a full-blown kitchen. But I could see the two of them going where folks could, they're only, roughly a block apart. So it would be real easy, I think, for folks to go to classes in the morning, go over to the Senior Activity Center for lunch, and classes in the afternoon or other activities and so on. So no, it's not meant to compete with the current senior center. We see it as offering additional services that the senior center either can offer in a limited way or doesn't offer at all.
That's really good to hear, because I just want to be clear. I'm very interested in this project and support it, but I also want people to understand that I support the Senior Activity Center too. So
Yeah.
that this is offering more and complementary things rather than competing. So,
Yes.
yeah,
And-
thank you.
Any other questions? Council, would you like Ann to prepare a letter for you to sign?
Yes.
Okay, super. We'll get a letter prepared and signed, and then it'll probably be next week.
That'd be wonderful.
If that'll be all right, we'll go from there.
We appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you
Super.
again for the time.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to agenda item number 3 is the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA projects update. Public Works staff, members, and department representatives will present updated information, cost estimates, and status of ARPA projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Jeff Mansfield, Public Works Director and City Engineer. I'm joined today by Andrea Cole, my Executive Assistant, and I'd like to start off by thanking her for all the hard work she's put into getting this presentation ready for today.
No, hold on to that right now and stuff until we get something else.
So, also like to thank the Finance Department. They've been helpful in getting these numbers put together, as well as several other members of different departments. So it's been kind of a collaborative effort, but looking forward to presenting this ARPA presentation to you today. It's we're kind of reaching a point where we need to make some finalize some decisions and figure out what the end of this looks like. So this is our discussion number 7. And there's the dates on the previous presentations that I've given to this point. As we've discussed before, there's 4 eligible uses or categories for this funding: public sector revenues, public health and economic response, premium pay for essential workers, and water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. They've kind of expanded on some different eligible uses as well, but those were not ones that we necessarily had an interest in pursuing. So those 3 of those other ones are, I take that back. We have utilized some of those. So there's the emergency relief from natural disasters, surface transportation projects, and community development Title I. So that was published in September of 23.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
could you define that community development Title I category?
I believe that's the one we're using for the mental health. Is that right, Christine?
Christine Howe, Grants Manager. That category is anything that's eligible under the CDBG program is also eligible under ARPA, so they essentially expanded the rules to allow you to do any of those types of activities. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as far as our timeline for the use of the SLFRF funds, and just to let you know, that stands for State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. You may see that in a couple of spaces, a couple of spots throughout the presentation, but I'm just going to refer to it as ARPA funds. So this is where we're at here in the middle. The funds have been awarded, and they can be used for any costs incurred after March 3rd, 2021, as described in the 2022 final rule, or after December 29, 2022 in the 23 interim final rule. So, and then if you go down to the bottom, the funds must be obligated by December 31, 2024, and we'll talk more about what obligation means. And then so the funds for Title I projects and the surface transportation projects have to be expended by September 30, 2026, and all other funds must be expended by the end of December 31, 2026. That's where we're at, coming up on that deadline of having all the funds obligated. So we had some discussion last week about what an obligation is, and I've done quite a bit of reading about that. And Christine has helped look into this, and Andrea as well. And Jared and I have had conversations about what an obligation looks like. And so according to their most recent guidelines, an obligation is an order placed for property and services and entry into contracts, subawards, and similar transactions that require payment, which may include certain interagency agreements, including MOUs. Under certain circumstances, payroll expenses for recipient employees may also be included as an obligation. And it is a requirement under federal law or regulation or provision of the SLRF award terms and conditions to which the recipient becomes subject as a result of receiving or expending SLFRF funds. So kind of a mouthful there, but really, it's an order for property or services entered into as a contract or some other binding document. Yeah.
Council President?
And maybe you're gonna get to this, but does that include, as we discussed, like a contract with ourselves?
Yes, so that was one of the big questions that I have, and as Jared and I have looked into this, we have the ability to write an agreement between departments that we feel like will meet this obligation. So, yeah. And and when we get into the spreadsheet, there's only probably going to be one or so, maybe a couple, kind of depending on where we go, that would actually require that. What an obligation is not, it is not a resolution, it is not an adopted budget or a budget amendment. It's not an appropriation of ARPA funds, it's not an executive order, it's not a written or oral intent to enter into a contract. It's not a grant of legal authority to enter into a contract. It's not claiming funds under the revenue loss category or moving ARPA funds to a general fund as a revenue loss, but not further establishing an obligation by the end of the year. So this is the list that was approved back in June of 2023 that we've been working off of. And at this point, this is where we are at as far as where the funds stand. So when I came to you last week, we were around $300,000 to $400,000 overextended. And as we've been getting better numbers from the departments and tightening things down, we've actually found that we do have a little bit of excess funding in there. So I want to go through this a little bit. So currently we have expended $2.6 million of the 10.7 that we have available, which is about 25% of this has actually been spent. The amount that is obligated but not spent is another $4.1 million. So that's about 38% of the money. The amount that has not been spent nor obligated is 35%. Now that doesn't mean that is not designated for a project. It just means we haven't met that criteria to be obligated yet. So that's 35%. And then we have about $191,000 of excess right now.
What's the dollar amount of the not spent or obligated?
3.7 million.
3.7?
Yeah.
And how much did you say we have over?
Excess is $191,000. Yeah. I mean, those are rounded, of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So let's go through these categories and projects real quickly. So the first one that we have on the list is premium pay. That one is complete and done. Well number 2 is drilled. The design is complete. The well houses are under construction. We're estimating substantial completion on that in December of 24, and then we're estimating final completion to be March of 25. That project did come in over budget by about $220,000, but that is all obligated. So, fire alert system. So we recently, I think it was in April, we did a change order for this of $126,000, and that was approved. And then we also received the funding from the county for $200,000. Expended to date on that is $125,000. On that spreadsheet that I gave you, and we'll go through this a little bit more, but that project actually has an excess of $96,000 between what was originally committed and then the county, even including that change order. Pickleball, to date, we've expended $122,927. The items that need to be completed on that include the lighting, the fencing, the netting, and the surfacing. Estimated completion on that, I should say, probably fall of 24, summer of 24, so, yeah. But that one's fully obligated and will be fully expended, so. The finance department, finance software, they have not expended any of that funding yet. However, it's my understanding that 300,000 of that will be spent in FY24 and 300 will be expended in FY25, but that is fully obligated. Brooklands Playground, they've expended to date $115,000. They're waiting on a final invoice on that, and then that project will be completed. Ross Park Slide, they've expended to date $927,958. The remaining work includes the chemical building, the electrical work, concrete rock, and railing, fencing, and landscaping on that one. Grant matching, so we did something a little different on the grant matching. So originally we had allocated $2 million in for grant matching, so we broke it up as grant matching that's been obligated, and then the next page we'll get into grant matching that hasn't been obligated. So we've been chasing a lot of grants and trying to get these obligations in place. However, a lot of the newer grants don't allow us to use federal money as our match money. And so to this point, we have 2 grants that we'll be able to use this grant money for, this match money for. The first one is the Centennial Rainy Park grant for $545,092 for the match. And then the other one is the Oxbow's Planning Grant, which has a match of $130,000 and $625. So between the two of those, we have $675,717 that is obligated and will be spent. It will be spent in FY25-26 for the grant match. So then we have the grant matching not obligated. That is, we got $1.3 million in there, and we will continue to review opportunities for grants to use this for. But ultimately, I think this is probably one of those items that we might want to start looking for a different place to spend this money, because we're kind of getting towards the end of the time, and I think we probably need to figure someplace else to put this money. So cemetery roads, we originally had allocated $1 million in there. That came in at about $400,000. That'll be split up between FY24 and 25. We anticipate spending about $320,000 this year and about $80,000 next year after the water department puts their water line in there. That's one of those that we'll need to do an inter-department agreement with in order to expedite or expend those funds next year. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On our list here, it's got the stormwater,
Yeah, I was gonna have him jump back to that also.
number 10.
We have
is-
number 10, Stormwater Project.
yeah, so that's down on the list. It's in a different order on this right here. So
Okay,
yeah, it'll be on the next page.
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, the cemetery roads came in quite a bit cheaper than what we had originally estimated. So we're estimating $400,000, and we had committed $1 million in there for that. So, but the street department is planning to have the majority of those roads paved this summer, fall, and then we'll do the rest of it next year. South Fifth Sewer, so this is another one where things have kind of changed out there with the annexation and some of the other grants that we've applied for. We've applied for a Connecting Communities grant for $16.5 million that we think will be able to do a lot of that work. And so, and then with the annexation, we just really feel like this one here would be really difficult to try to have obligated by the end of this year. We could probably have it expended by the end of 26, but trying to have this one obligated by the end of 24, I think would be difficult. And so I'd recommend that we also pull this one from the list and put those funds towards something else.
Jeff, any idea when we'll hear or find out about that grant?
I think they told me that we're supposed to hear whether we get an interview here in the next couple of weeks.
We're going to get Christine her steps today.
Yeah.
Good, I'm behind on the challenge.
I ain't buying that.
I don't believe it either.
So we'll hear, the community change grants are being awarded on a rolling basis. So right now, we're waiting to hear back on the oral presentation portion. And then by November, they should have those awards out.
But there is no match on that grant.
There's no
correct?
match, that's
So,
correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like I say, it could take this work that we had originally kind of assumed that we would do with this $250,000, we could incorporate that into it, so. The zoo potable water, so that one has gone down from $100,000 to $75,000. We're waiting for a contractor to give the zoo a quote on that, and as soon as they give us that quote, we can start moving forward on that one, but we're estimating that one to be about $75,000. Real property, that one's still out there. We're currently in some landowner negotiations, and we've got some different parcels and things like that that we want to bring to council for your consideration. So I'd recommend probably leaving that one where it is right now until we make some decisions on some of those. So. Mental health, it's my understanding that we either have subrecipient agreements in place or we will by the end of the year for this mental health funding, and subrecipient agreements do qualify as an obligation. And so we should be able to have that $200,000 obligated and expended by the end of 26, unless Christine tells me different. And then finally is our stormwater project. That's $1 million. So was that the one you were asking about,
Yes.
Council President Lyric? So this one here, we are finalizing the design. We hope to have that one out for bid in July. We had originally applied for the Protect grant, I believe it was, and we were not successful in getting that grant. So we've decided to go ahead and move forward with utilizing this ARPA funding to do that. But yeah, we anticipate having having the bid out this year. We don't know if we'll actually do construction this year or next year, kind of just depending on what the contractor's availability is. But we should be able to have it obligated and constructed in the timelines necessary.
Just a quick
Yeah.
question on that. So having it out to bid counts as obligated?
If we've done the bidding process and put a contract together and the council has accepted that contract with the contractor, then that counts as an obligation.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this one's kind of hard to read on the screen. I apologize for that. That's why I gave you a hard copy for it. But just wanted to go through this a little bit, one by one. So can you pull up the Excel spreadsheet? So I've brought, it's not part of the presentation, but I've brought some from back in
Here, just hand those to me, then you can get back
June
in
of
front of them.
2023. They included all the things that we were kind of considering on the list at that time. So I don't know if you wanted to look through that and be like, hey, maybe we should pull, maybe we should bring this project back or that project. And then I made some, so like I say, right now we have 191,000. So can you open up that?
I'm trying to.
So just hit escape and then minimize that. And just open this right here. Okay, so like I say, right now we have about $191,000 of excess. And if we take off the, so can I run that real quick? So our excess button, and I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but our excess amount is right there, $191,000. And so if we zero out the the South Fifth sewer, gets us to 441,108. And then if we zero out our grant matching that's not obligated, gets us to 1.765. Other than that, I think we probably need to leave the rest of them where they're at.
Can
So
you
that-
say that number one more time?
So we have $1,765,391.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Jeff, if I could, is then the excess in the zoo potable water, the 25,000 already included in that 191?
It is, because you'll see it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Jeff, does the well 219, 900, is that also in that number or no?
It is. Let me walk through the spreadsheet a little bit with you. So what I did is I took the budgeted funds here,
Okay,
and then I came up with updated costs. And then I came up with additional funds that were made available, and you'll see that we have the 200,000 from the county for the fire alerting system, and then we also had 140,000 for the Ross Park slide. So this is additional funding that we had available. Then what that gave me is when I ran the formula, it gave me either an excess or a deficit over in this column G. And so when I add those up, that's when I came up with the $191,000 of excess that we had. But that included, the deficit for the water department, the deficit for the Ross Park slide, plus all the excesses for the other departments or the other projects.
Mr. Mayor.
yes.
That 140 for the Ross Park slide, where did those excess or other funds come from?
It was which
That
family
was
was it?
the Milder
family
family,
donation?
the Milder family donated that 140,000.
Yeah.
So, so as I was listening to the budget presentations, there were several departments. I don't know where you want to go, Mayor. If you got something in mind on where you'd like to put that money, I've got a few ideas of potentially we could look at.
Well, I know that we've got, excuse me, I know we've got a lot of ideas from the budget
Yeah.
that the council might be considering. I personally, there's a couple of things that I think are important for us to get taken care of and to do. One of them would be to complete the CRC building. We've got it torn up right now. We may as well finish the locker rooms and stuff like that, in my mind. Makes some sense. And then with our park system, with the aquatic center as well, I think that we've got some things that we need to get done there. I don't know what those costs look like is the biggest problem that I have. And I've asked Ann to work on some numbers, and if she's got some numbers, if you'd come up, Ann, and if you've got some numbers, I've asked her to pull some numbers together, but it was really quick. But I think that there's the aquatic center, we've got some needs, and we've got, and it would be nice to not tear that facility up again when we're doing the locker rooms and stuff that we talked about in need of. That being said, we've got that, and then I think that we've got some parking lots that would really be are in desperate need. We've got our parking lot out here. You've got NOP, the fields out there that need some, the parking lot fixed in that, and then just a number of other parking lots that we probably need to do. And so it'd be kind of interesting to see what, those would be kind of some of my top probably, but I mean, I got a list too, so I want to hear what the council has. I mean, we've got fire department that needs showers, we've got all kinds of stuff, so. Brent?
I'd like to see a skate park put back on this list. We've been putting that off for a long time now, and one opportunity to do it here.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
One other parks and rec thing is, and we kind of had it on our list, but Raymond Park. So we did the new pickleball courts and decided not to convert Raymond Park, or it is, but it needs so much work. I was wondering about fixing that up.
You know what I would like to do with that, I'd like to tear that out.
That's what I'd like to do.
And the reason I would is there's no ADA accessibility. It's, I mean, it gets used and utilized, but it's in bad shape. And it's difficult to get to if you need some help and stuff. There's just, it's a tough place to get to, so. I personally would almost like to see that taken out, and I would like to see us build some other tennis courts, but tennis courts
That was gonna be my
at
question.
a different location.
I don't want to just have no tennis. I get the
Yeah.
pickleball's real popular right now, but there's still a lot of us that play tennis that I would love to have some tennis
Well,
courts.
I have actually been working with ISU's tennis coaches in Pauline, and I've got a meeting coming up with them about building 7 or 8 new tennis courts and them being a partner in it. And
Okay.
so that's something that we may be able to consider, but we just need to see what that looks like and what ISU is willing to come to the table with, probably.
Okay.
So, but that's my opinion. Rick, did you have something?
I did. It's a very small ask. We have a building that has a perennial flooding problem. And we can solve that we have a rough estimate for about $55,000 to $60,000. And that building is a senior activity center. That sidewalk on the west side of that building, over the years, has settled so that any water on that side of the building flows into the building. And we need to tear that out. Tom has looked at it, has given us some rough ideas of what needs to be done. Part of the problem there is there's very little slope from one end of that building to the other. In fact, it slopes in both directions to the 2 streets on the north and on the south, with only about a 1% grade. So it's a little more complex than just ripping out and putting in new concrete. There are utility poles in that retaining wall area between the Department of Labor building and the senior center. And if we just run the water against those, we're gonna rot out Idaho Power's utility poles, which isn't a good solution. But Tom has come up with an idea. We can probably do it for $55,000 to $60,000 and prevent water from running in that building.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I think that's a good idea. And quite frankly, if it were me, I would add that now and get them moving
Get
on
it done.
Get it done personally.
Mayor, can I
agree.
make
I
one
think we
comment?
need that.
Ann Butler, Parks and Recreation Director. Everything on the list I supplied to you is deferred maintenance. I would absolutely love to have a new skate park, new tennis courts, but in the Parks and Recreation Department, deferred maintenance is our biggest challenge, and this is an opportunity to make a huge dent. The Ross Park Aquatics Complex is 25 years old. We have not made very few minimal changes in that pump room. Things are going to start to give, and when they do, they're going to be expensive fixes. It's a draw to the community. It drives a lot of revenue in. We have a brand new slide coming in there. It's going to be busy. We had to close yesterday for a chemical issue. Things like that shouldn't happen, but we're starting to give away the infrastructure of that facility along with the community rec center. Like I said, I'd really like to focus on one, get it in good condition, and then focus on the next one.
She doesn't like my idea of the CRC. She likes the idea of the aquatic center.
I do. It's just easier to bite off the pieces at the Ross Park pool right now than the rec center. The rec center would probably close us down the pool to get that in a condition. And I know we put the members that use that facility they're being stressed right now just given the remodel. So I thought we'd give that a little bit of time if we could.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I could give a few off of my list. One that's critical for the fire department is their staircase. That one I think definitely needs to be high on the priority list.
Well, how much was that staircase?
Ryan's got some estimate, or Chief O'Hearn has some estimates for about $50,000 on
Okay.
that. So,
Which station was that again?
Station one.
See, I forgot about that too. Senior center and the staircase.
They
Forgot
also
about
have
both of
their
them. Both need to do
bathroom
both of them.
locker that needs to be upgraded as well. So,
And that's about 50?
yeah. And then some of the things that I apologize there, Ann, but I've got some things for parks that I have listed. So, obviously the clubhouse at the Riverside, the irrigation systems out there on those golf courses need some work. The Ross Park Aquatic Complex bridge and drains. I think you said those were about $220,000.
Yeah, they're on the list.
Okay. CRC plumbing, Legacy Park. Do we have the money we need to put into Legacy Park or?
So it's in the upper left-hand corner of your list there.
Okay.
Phase one was what I had come to you about in the work session last month. We're gonna get started on, but we are gonna need a little bit more money in fiscal year 25 to finish that project off. And then I also added a phase 3 there for you to see some costs, which include the playground, the pavilion, and a restroom. Those might be a little bit further out, but I just wanted to give an estimate.
And then another one for parks that would be beneficial to the Riverside Golf Course is installing a VFD out there at the Cree Well. So that would help. It would help parks. It would also help the city, but that would be about an $80,000 probably cost on to do that. So
What was that for exactly?
it's to put a VFD on the Cree Well. We've quit using that well just because of some pressure issues. And if we were able to get a VFD on that well, it would allow us to continue to use that well and help reduce the demand on the community system as so much.
And that one was about 80?
They had $80,000 on that one, so.
You done with your list?
Yep,
Okay.
sorry.
All right. Council, I haven't heard from this side of the table yet at all on what your thoughts are on projects.
I agree with Ann. Like the most immediate fixes, especially if they're deferred, should be prioritized.
Okay.
Well, I really think that this deferred maintenance, we've got to get a handle on it for sure, because not only is it a maintenance issue, but then it becomes a safety issue if we wait for too long on there. That's really where I stand, yeah.
Okay, council, where are you with the senior center, that back piece, that 55,000, 60,000 for that? Or we got a thumbs up on that.
I agree with that.
So let's add that and let's get that done this summer, hopefully before the major storms in August.
And
So if we can add that, the staircase,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's a safety issue. I think we need to get that done. So can we add those two? And then this side of the room,
I think we need to focus on the deferred maintenance as well, in addition to the two things you've mentioned. And I'm wondering, with your list and of the deferred maintenance, if we do the senior center, the fire department staircase, and all the deferred maintenance, where does that lead us?
that
Leave us?
if these numbers are right now, Ann has some some notes out here, more info needed, but if these numbers at 814's right for the deferred maintenance and that, we're at 920. Yes,
So, and in this, this list here for the aquatic center,
Yep.
are there any here that you would say are more pressing than others? That way it alleviates a little bit more of this excess money to go possibly elsewhere? And there might be other fund sources to satisfy some of these other projects.
You know, the filtration system is something that I've marked more information needed. There is some new technology out there, but that's gonna take a little bit more legwork, probably an engineer to help us. I mean, we can look at new technology, which it helps us, but sometimes it causes additional plumbing or things to modify that system. And so I didn't feel like I had the expertise to evaluate that quote entirely.
do you think if with the new technology that number goes down or up?
I think that number would probably stay pretty similar because it gives us the two options, but in the long run, the new technology will give us more space, but also save us money. It takes less power, you know, pumps and that than it once did.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah?
I have a question about, I'm interested in Brent's idea of the skate park. I think there's some smaller cities around us that kind of put us to shame on that topic, but do we have a cost on that?
I think that's
An
a
estimated-
$500,000 project.
A $500,000?
$500,000 for about a 10,000 square foot skate park.
Okay, because I'm interested in both the skate park and the clubhouse. But the clubhouse, we're looking at 2.5 million, right?
It's 2.5, probably could even be 3.
3 at this point with costs going up.
I think that we've got another
Option
opportunity
for
with
that.
with the
Yeah.
clubhouse, so I wouldn't.
And the money here won't cover.
I wouldn't consider the clubhouse
Okay.
in this if it were me. I think we have another option. I do like the idea of the skate park.
But the
If-
skate park, we could have enough if we've got 1.76 million roughly. If we did the things we were talking about, even your deferred maintenance, the senior center, the staircase, we could still get the skate park.
Well, if my math is done, you have about
there.
950,000
Yeah.
left.
The
after
other-
you do all of the RPAC and these two things.
Yeah,
The other item you probably should keep on your radar is automation of irrigation at the cemetery. I tried really hard to get a quote, and I'm anticipating having one today, but I didn't get it before this meeting.
Do the colors on your
They're
chart
just-
mean anything?
They're just divisions to try to help you guys read it.
So they aren't a priority?
No, they're not. The top of the list is probably the top 4 boxes would really be my top priority, and then the rec center. But parking lot treatments are definitely rolling at us as well.
Yeah, there's definitely several parking lots out there that need some love.
any idea on the, I know you're waiting on an estimate, any ballpark?
I have
No,
no
okay.
clue on that one. And we were pushing pretty hard to get it, but
Do we have an estimate on parking lot treatments or time frame on when we could get that done?
on my list, I have NOP, Hallowell, Ross Park, and the outdoor rec shop where there's a dirt road.
Good morning. Tom Kirkman, Director of Public Services. So I did a quick little math. NOP's your big one. That's a monster. You're probably looking, what we would do on that is put a double micro seal on top of it. To pave that thing, you're probably $1.5 million. I think we could do a double micro and a stripe for around 200,000. So the parking lot's made up of millings, which is recycled asphalt. We'd put one coat of micro seal on it, give it a day or two to cure, put a second coat on top of that. And we would do the same thing at Hallowell for about 50,000. I don't have any numbers on Ross Park.
Would that include repairing any cracks that are in that parking lot?
Yeah, so right now it's just asphalt millings, so there's really, it's kind of loose gravel or loose. So this would put a wear surface on top of that. We did go over this spring and fill some of the spots that were really bad. We have our microseal contractors are coming, July, August timeframes, so that could get done quickly. City Hall, you're probably looking at about 180,000. City,
Eight or 80?
180. That's for 2 coats. I don't know if City Hall, it would be nice to put 2, but you could probably get away with 1 for a few years. So that number could be cut in half.
Did you say 180?
Yes,
80.
180.
That's to
Sorry.
double coat it,
Okay,
because there's so many cracks out there.
yeah.
What is the life expectancy on doing those 2 coats on any of these, or even just 1 coat?
Probably 10 years. And then we can apply another single coat on top of that.
So at 10 years, it'll look like what it looks like now, or,
No, it'll look like pavement.
okay.
Okay.
I'm just saying like in 10 years,
No, no,
well,
no, yeah,
well, you know.
absolutely, yeah. So it will be, it will look like a road that needs treatment.
Okay.
So there may be a few potholes here and there. We go in, we fix the potholes, and then we put another microseal on top.
A follow-up. So at 10 years, okay, so about $1.5 million to repave the entire thing. And so we can get away with just doing these 2 seals every 10 years without having to repave it. At what point are we gonna have to repave it?
Our hope is never.
Okay.
So a microseal is like a little 3/4 of an inch overlay. The stuff is amazing. I mean, I put it on my cereal in the morning. It's so good. What it does.
And this is that explains a lot, actually.
It really does.
We've actually, we experimented with this a few years ago. We had a couple of roads out on the south end of town that were just millings. And we said, we're gonna put a micro over it and see what it does. And they look just as good as the day we did it. So 10 years, we would probably only have to put 1 coat, so it would be half of that.
Okay.
Once we just got to get that initial, substance put down.
So-
City Hall's a challenging one because there's no drainage, it is dead flat. And so to redo City Hall, it's gonna be a couple mil probably. So what we're proposing is just keep putting this Band-Aids on it to just keep it alive.
When,
Okay, so can I bounce back up? I appreciate this and don't go anywhere, but I want to get some numbers locked in here. Ross Park, all of that, council, are you interested in that?
The 814.
The 815.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor,
The senior center and stuff, we're interested in that.
Staircase.
The staircase, we're interested in that. The skate park. I got yeses, or no, I got 4 yeses,
What's the
and I got a
cost
no.
on the- No, I'm a yes, but I was wondering about the golf course irrigation. I don't see a number.
The
But I was
golf
just-
course irrigation is, I think they figured about $1 million on each course.
Okay, so,
And so I think that's
We'll have to
something we're
figure
just
that
gonna
out.
have to figure out,
Yeah.
So, Mayor-
honestly.
I'm a yes on the skate park.
on the skate park, where would we put it?
Well, where do you want a skate park?
I think we need to evaluate that.
We have a master plan for Ross Park we're working on that I'm not sure if its placement is appropriate given what's there currently. The skateboard community would like it right out here at Optimist, which I don't think is a terrible location either. It would leave some room for some other amenities in that park. Optimist is the one to the south.
I think that if you're gonna put a skate park somewhere, the very further southern end of town is probably the wrong spot because you want people to be able to get to it.
Yeah.
This has a bus stop.
Yeah.
I have a question about, because I remember that being in the Ross Park master plan, but I remember, if I'm correct, that the location in the master plan was dependent on a lot of major changes like moving roads and stuff.
Yes.
And so that would not be a possibility right now.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to put it where
Okay.
it's at unless a lot of other pieces come to
And
fruition.
yeah, so that location to me seems really not workable at the moment. But I agree with the mayor about the more central it is, the better. I'm not sure right here is a bad idea.
Okay, well, we need to get it obligated and we need to get it find its location before the end of the year if we're gonna put 500,000 at it.
And all those things bring us to
Just a minute.
1,420,000 roughly.
So I show that, so I show a remainder of $350,995.
350? I missed 100,000 somewhere.
Anything in Legacy Park in it?
What's that?
Does that number have Legacy Park?
Oh, did you want a legacy in there?
Well, I think we have a contractual obligation with that developer. We need to move forward for at least phase 1 and 2 at this point.
I would agree.
How much was legacy?
105 for the 2 phases.
You agree?
Okay, I've got, yes, let's add that, Legacy Park at 105.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I may, so I showed an excess of 1.765 million. So I've got the senior center for 50,000, the fire department for 50,000, the skate park for 500,000.
But senior center was 55.
We ought to put 60 into it.
60, put 60 in it,
Yeah,
because
we don't know.
Do I hear 60 going once?
I think the bid, what was your bid for?
It was really rough, but 55.
Okay.
So 60,
So we don't have an official bid, we just have a,
okay.
So I got 60 for senior center, 50 for fire department, 500,000 for skate park, 814,395 for the RPAC, and then 105,000 for legacy.
Okay. What's your number?
I'm showing we still have an additional $235,995.60.
235?
235,995.
I'm gonna guess, probably say it wrong, VFD
BFD for the Cree well.
for the Cree well.
Yeah.
I would like to see us throw that in there because we are blowing out the sprinkler system at Riverside when that kicks in.
And that was
And we're
80?
using potable water right now on Riverside, and we can change it and use the Cree well, which is potable, but it's questionable.
That's 80,000?
That's 80, is that right?
Yeah, that's our best estimate at this point.
I would like to do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that. On this Legacy Park deal, we still have another phase 3. Would we be including that or just looking at the first 2 phases?
We were just looking at the first 2.
So I get you down to 155,995.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see us hang loose on that balance until we see about that automation of irrigation for the cemetery system. We got a little problem out there that I'm getting a lot of complaints from citizens about not keeping that grass up. And I think the only way we're going to overcome that is by doing something that doesn't require manual irrigation of that system.
Well, we don't know a number on that.
Nope, I should have it later today.
So I would be interested in holding off on the VFD also, quite frankly, if we needed that 80,000 for that to get the irrigation at the cemetery. I mean, I would do them both if we could, but
Yeah,
that cemetery's probably more important than,
I agree.
Mayor, if I could, all the parking lots, City Hall, I don't think will make it through another winter. So even if we can just put one coat on it for now, we're starting to see it come apart pretty bad. And I don't know if it'll make one more winter. So that's just,
Your estimate was?
we could do a single coat, and a single coat's probably around
180 was his estimate for both.
85,000 and then 30,000 for striping. Oh, I apologize. City Hall was 150,000.
for
It's
double.
one of those days. Little under 80,000 for a single coat and probably 20,000 to stripe it. So 100 grand you could get away with, or 180 to put a second coat on. But
Mr. Mayor, do we need a decision, a final decision today on these items?
I don't think we need a final decision necessarily today, but we need a decision fairly quick so we can get this money obligated.
Yeah.
We're
That's-
halfway through the year, basically, and so
Yeah.
we need to,
Well, even if we do the VFD and did 100 for City Hall, we still would have about 50, a little over 50 left. But we need to see about the cemetery.
so Tom, how much did you say the single coat was?
80.
80,
Okay, and
and
then
then I
20,
got 20 grand to stripe it.
So
If it were
100K.
me, I would rather us just do the city hall right instead of do half of it now and then come back in a few years and do the other half and restripe and all of that stuff.
It's a jigsaw puzzle. I think we all see it when it come in. And pieces are starting to come out.
and the two coats was 180 or 150?
180.
Okay.
To do it right too, I think going with a single,
I would recommend two, but
yeah,
it would buy you three years maybe on a
yeah.
single. Because there's just so many cracks. Those cracks reflect right back through. And they're gonna reflect through two coats. It's just the water has a harder time going through two coats than it does one. Because it's so flat, the water just sits on it.
So if we do it once, we get 3 years. If we do it 2 coats, we get 10.
Yeah. We double coated it the last time we did it, and that was probably 12 years ago.
Yeah.
10's a pretty good number.
How quick would we be able to get actual skate park stuff obligated?
I have a company that I've been talking to that's designing Chubbucks. I can reach out to them and see, we'll have to go out to bid, so that's gonna take a little bit of time. But if we get a design together, I think when I talked to them, the quote, about 500K was pretty solid on their side. I think we can get it done for that amount.
Yeah, but I'm
By
not
this
so
year?
so worried about getting it done.
We'll
We
get
have
it
to
under
get
contract
obligated.
and make sure. It'll probably have to be built next spring, would be my guess.
But we could get
We-
it obligated.
Absolutely.
Corey?
What other cost would we incur from that? Because they're gonna have to do some work at that park, tear up some stuff. So are there gonna be other costs besides that 500,000?
We can take care of the irrigation on that end. It would be solid concrete, so it would be the design and then they'd come in and pour it. So most of it would be somebody else doing the professional services, but we can handle the irrigation portion and fencing if we need.
So like the backstop and all the other stuff that's there, we would have to rip that out.
Yep, we can work on that gradually. I think the skate park would probably be on this side.
Okay.
So there would be minimal fencing that would have to be modified. Yep, some sidewalks to get there, but that would be part of the design.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
where is Chubbuck planning on putting their park?
They're planning an all-wheel skate park, and it is, you know where the roundabout is if you head down towards the WPC plant on Chubbuck Road? You go right where that whole pile of those huge trees where they cut down, is that Philbin?
Billy's place.
Billy's
that what you're
place?
Philbin and Chubbuck.
Philbin and Chubbuck, and head out to the right. It's right in that area, right across from that subdivision that's gone in.
So it's pretty far.
It
over
is
that
quite a
way.
ways out.
That's out.
Okay.
Is there any thought that that construction will lessen the push to do something in Pocatello?
Not from what I'm hearing.
What I was wondering, but Brent, you don't think so?
No, I think we need our own here in Pocatello.
And that's what I keep hearing too.
Would it lessen if we had one out there? The need?
I don't know, maybe.
What was your question,
Still,
Mayor?
we still have the need here.
If they have the skate park in Chubbuck, would it lessen the need for one here?
Looking at the geographical location, I would say it's not gonna lessen the need on the city of Pocatello.
We have one on the south end and one on the northwest end in Chubbuck then. And
So we would be divided from one end to the other end versus something centrally located. I think the central located option is probably the best option. And it's
I'm
probably,
excited about is watching everybody but Brent. I've seen him skateboard. He can do it. I want everybody else on the board.
This,
I skateboarded from
this would be
1963.
skateboard only, not all wheel, so it wouldn't be
I broke my arm the
bicycles or
last time
other
I did it,
things.
and then
Okay.
one time, and I never got on wheels again.
Haven't either.
so listening to what Ann was just saying, it would be solely skateboards. So that would differentiate it from the one out in Chubbuck. So it would have its own patrons who are only on skateboards. There's no bicycles or anything like that on it.
I mean, we're hearing from our population, they've been sort of screaming for this for a long time, and I don't see them going out to Chubbuck. The whole point is to have it where kids can get to it, ride their bikes or walk or,
Would we keep the one in Ross Park as well?
For now, I would say yes. Could evaluate that in the future, but they put some work into it and it'll hold on for a while longer.
With the amount of work they've done on it, I'd hate to see us just rip that out. And it's being used.
It is.
It's not the greatest, but it's being used. People enjoy it. And while they're hanging out at Ross Park, it gives people something to do. And so I'd say maintain it, keep it, and let it live.
Okay.
Is the problem with the current skate park its location, its quality, its
Quality.
condition?
quality.
It's quality.
Quality.
It was done incorrectly. That should have been a solid concrete skate park.
I think all of the above, it sounds like. Location is a difficult location, although we do have a lot of kids that go out there right now because it's the only one we've got, and then the quality of it is not.
I agree with all those points, but when I think about overflow, if this one's crowded, people can always access that one. It might not be the best option, but in a pinch, might be something that people want to go to.
And I think, I mean, I agree with what you were saying, Ann, about evaluating it down the road, but for now, I mean, it was just upgraded, so I wouldn't want to just get rid of it. And it is kind of an overflow option, yeah.
Okay, and you're going to get us numbers for the irrigation system this afternoon?
Yep.
And we're gonna have to figure out a way to at least get City Hall parking lot done and taken care of.
Yeah.
That could be done when they get here, so it would be quick.
Well, we'll need to figure that out, and I agree with Rick. The cemetery irrigation, I'm a little. I wonder why we have never done that before, quite frankly.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
are there a couple things on this RPEC list that could be removed or delayed a little bit to help us to get City Hall completed? Or is everything extremely pertinent?
Given the condition, I would say at this point it's important, but if you have an item that you feel like we should take off,
No, I don't feel like there's anything that should necessarily be removed, but if there's something that can wait just a little bit longer to help us get City Hall done within these funds, I'd say let's do it. But I also don't want us to keep putting off maintenance and deferring it and kicking the can down the road.
we can get,
You look confused.
we can look at covers and replace, those to me the covers might be the way to go. I know they're starting to fail, but if we get by a year or two and can replace those in the future, that's one thing that is probably not gonna change in price drastically.
I do like the idea of getting one thing like fully taken care of on your list. So I guess, yeah, once we see the number for the cemetery irrigation, maybe we can take a look at if there's anything, but I'd love to get one facility sort of.
My other hope on this is, These quotes were from one vendor, so maybe we can get some more competitive bids. They will have to go out to bid, so hopefully we can drive that price down a little bit more.
Let's get those numbers for the irrigation and stuff, and then we'll also be looking at the city hall parking lot and stuff and see if there's anything we can, see what we can do. But right now, it sounds like a majority of the council is in favor of adding a skate park, the Ross Park Aquatic Center, the senior center, the staircase, Legacy Park. I've got Cree Well, but I think Cree Well we walk away from if the cemetery irrigation comes within budget.
Can we, would we be too late to bring these things back at the July meeting, work session?
No.
No, I think we can bring them back. Let's get some more
Yeah.
numbers, but let's focus on these projects that we've gotten. We've just got a couple that we've got to figure out, the parking lot and the irrigation system with Cree Well. And
I think we're almost there, but if we
yeah, I
have
think
those
we are
numbers, we
almost there,
can
but I think,
make some
yeah, I
final.
think July would be a,
Hopefully I'll have a better number for you on the real property by July.
yeah,
So
so we
that
can
one
finalize
may
it.
that could
adjust
vary
a
some.
little bit.
All right, and then I would ask Justin to get a real number for the
Yeah.
VFD and to get a real number for the irrigation system. And you're pretty solid on your 180. Okay,
Does that 180 include the striping? Okay.
I'll get a quote on the striping. I might be a little high on the striping.
okay. Okay, are we good with that direction, council?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Do we want to recess for a minute? Yes, we do.
Court says no.
Corey's got a,
Move. Keep going.
thank you for joining us after the break. We'll go ahead and get started again. Agenda item number 4, recycling program update. Sanitation staff members will provide information on the current recycling program and future outlook of the program.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Tom Kirkman, Director of Public Services. I'm joined by Carrie Farnsworth, our Sanitation Manager. This morning, we wanted to just kind of give a brief overview of our recycling programs and some opportunities in the future to help us improve the program and make it even stronger. So just a real quick history lesson. We started curbside recycling in 2011. At that time, we partnered with Western Recycling. They had a local baling facility. The first few years was very profitable. As the uses of plastic have declined a little, the prices have continued to escalate. In 2018, China basically said, we don't want any more plastics. They said, we'll take it, but it needs to be at like a 0.5% contamination, which is unrealistic. That sent shockwaves through the plastic markets, and that resulted in some fairly substantial increases to market commodity rates. So you'll see, in 2018, you'll see that it jumped up pretty quick, and then it was fairly volatile for the last 4 years. As we as a group of recycling has tried to find other buyers for those products that were once going to China. You can see that it's starting to stabilize, we feel, but you can see that from 2016 to 24, we have seen a marketable increase in costs, 164%.
Corey?
To be clear, this is not indicative to Pocatello. These are the commodity rates across the world right now.
So this is what the city average per ton cost is, and the commodity rate plays a vital role in that. So in November of '23, Republic Services, they are the second largest hauler in the nation, assumed the responsibility from Western Recycling to run the facility here, which is a baling facility. The material from our curbside recycling program is placed at that facility. Our trucks go over, dump it there. It is baled. It is then shipped to a sorting facility. And then once it is sorted, we get a certain amount of that commodity after Republic Service sells the plastics, we get a certain part of that commodity rate back as a refund. They are a very large organization. We were super excited about that because they have large brokering power as well as better commodity rates. And so you can see from November to April, we've seen a 25% decrease in our costs, and that is solely in fact to commodity rates are getting better and better and better. So as the commodity rate goes back, we get larger rebates back from the recycling facilities. Recycling in Pocatello is very, the citizens of Pocatello are very passionate about recycling. The national average for curbside recycling is 32%. The EPA has set a goal for the nation to be at 50% by 2030, and you can see this, the city of Pocatello, we have a 77% participation rate. So the citizens of Pocatello are very passionate about curbside recycling. We also have glass recycling, yard waste, as well as electronic waste. Those programs are used extensively, and we were very proud to say we were the first city in Idaho that started a glass recycling program, and we've kind of been the benchmark for the state for everybody else that wants to get into that.
Councilmember Mangum.
I want to kind of lay to rest the idea that our recycling is going to the landfill. And can you speak on that? Because there's a lot of people out there with the rumor that we just send everything to the landfill, and that's absolutely not true. We actually do recycle the recyclables.
Absolutely.
So you can speak to that.
So from 2011 until today, both Western Recycling and Republic have assured us that everything has been recycled. There was a time in 2018 when China quit taking the recyclable materials that there were companies that were just landfilling that product. Western Recycling, as well as Republic Service, has never done that. Their philosophy is they have too much invested in it, sorting it and hauling it and baling it, that they're not gonna throw it away. So what that led to with Western, as well as what Republic can do, is they have large storage facilities, and they assured us they have always had a buyer for that material. So some places in the nation have gone straight to a landfill. We have never experienced that. We've been very fortunate that Western and Republic always have buyers for that. Republic Services just constructed I can't remember, it's a very massive facility in Las Vegas that is a polymer center. And so they are actively processing recycled plastics and making polymer out of it. And they have no desire to throw any of that away because they have found a way to make that profitable for them.
Thank you.
So we as the sanitation department are always looking for ways to increase efficiencies, and through efficiencies we can lower our operating costs. So we've been in contact with Republic Services about creating a partnership with them on how to help us reduce our overhead and help the environment in that same thing. So some of the things that we want to talk to you folks about today that we see could be a huge asset to the city, as well as a huge efficiency that leads to a cost savings for the sanitation department. We would like to purchase the existing baling facility from, it is still owned by Western Services, or Western Recycling. We would like to purchase that facility. We would like to bale our own products, saving the baling costs that are associated with that. Then the material will be trucked to Republic Services, and they will sort it, and then we will get back the commodity value from that. In turn, Republic Services has offered to donate all of the equipment to the city of Pocatello, which is the baler, the in-ground truck scale, a buyback scale, and a couple of forklifts. Those are very expensive pieces of equipment. Balers can range from $500,000 to $1 million. They have agreed to donate those to the city if we go down this road of starting what we look at as a complete recycling facility for the city of Pocatello. We can have a location there where we can do glass recycling, we can do curbside recycling, we can have citizen drop-off locations, we can, when the time comes, we can have compost drop-off sites where people can come and pick up compost. We think this is a huge step forward for the city of Pocatello's recycling program. And we believe in our initial negotiations and all of our research to date, we feel it has a very short return on investment that we could recoup some of the costs associated with moving forward in this new venture. So today, we are asking council to consider the sanitation department purchasing the recycling center at 3034 Garrett Way. We have spoken with Western Recycling, who owns the facility. We are looking at a purchase price of $2 million. Western Recycling has offered to charitably donate $500,000 off the asking price to the city of Pocatello. With that, we will need to add one head count, about $90,000 labor and benefits, and then about $700,000 for facility upgrades and renovations. Along with the donations from Republic Services, we believe that we can operate this facility in a way that's going to help us long-term reduce the operating costs of the sanitation department, to help recycling be more viable for the citizens of Pocatello and give better opportunities for us to give back. So that's what we're asking for today. We're asking if council is amenable to this idea. If so, we will start moving forward and putting all the pieces together and get all the loose ends tied up, and then come back at a city council meeting with contracts and all of the negotiation finalized for approval to move forward with this facility.
Corey?
I think this is a great idea. Really helps us out in keeping the city beautified. That way we don't have cans and bottles tossed all over. And it's an added bonus just to living in the city of Pocatello, that we are conscientious of the environment and, recycling. So I vote in favor. I guess we're not really voting, but I'm in favor of this.
Linda?
I'm also in favor of this, and I want to thank you guys for really just being creative and coming up with good solutions to reduce recycling costs and keep the program going. You've mentioned in your presentation how passionate Pocatello is about recycling, and we see that in the numbers. 77% participation rate is incredible. Like more than double the national average. So I commend you on finding a way to keep this going and to keep the costs under control. I'm very excited about this, so thank you.
We think it's a great win for the city of Pocatello. I think we are hands down the most environmentally conscious when it comes to solid waste of any community.
Yeah.
Probably in the Northwest. We have the highest participation rate of anyone we ever have talked to in any of our peers. So one thing I did fail to address is the purchase of the facility would come from our excess reserves in the sanitation department, which we are a very strong fund. So that would be no tax ask on that. The labor, the head count would be factored into the operating costs of the facility. So that would not be any tax ask, as well as the upgrades to the facility would also be, funds would be dedicated from the sanitation excess reserve amounts. So we feel that this is kind of a win-win opportunity. It's a way to improve our efficiencies with recycling to a point where we can lower some of these costs to the department, to the city, and help long-term with our recycling.
Okay, Councilmember Nichols.
Yeah.
And then Council President Lurick.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think this is a good idea. It helps promote recycling and long-term drive down our sanitation costs, so it's a win across the board, I think.
And I just forgot to make one other comment. You mentioned, you know, that Pocatello does very well in terms of thinking about our environment and being environmentally friendly. And to Councilmember Mangum's earlier point about the rumors out there about that we don't actually recycle, that all of that's just going to the landfill and everything. And I'm glad that you explained that we are one of the only cities that never did do that. So that the companies we worked with did not do that. And being environmentally conscious and friendly is really important to me. And so that's another big part of this project. And I think our citizens do care about that as well. So thank you for that. And just putting those rumors to rest, but also then keeping the program going and making it more efficient. So thank you.
Rick.
Well, this program is not in the rate study that was done, correct? That was done prior to this concept coming along. You know, I wanted to address that in the fact that Pocatello hasn't hauled to the waste facility, to the dump. But I think in 2018, when the market tanked, Western was hauling some stuff to the dump in Portland because there was no market for the stuff at that point. And that's where I think the rumor started, was an inaccurate interpretation of what was happening due to no market for the product. So they were taking it to the coast, and it was piling up, and it ended up in dumps because they had to do something with it, and no one would take it at a price that was, you know, that was like down to $3 a ton or something. And those rumors, if they're accusing Pocatello of doing that, are inaccurate. We did what citizens wanted in providing a recyclable material to the marketplace. The marketplace simply dried up for some time. And I am personally not a big recycling fan because I think there has been a problem with what to do with all that material. But the world is changing, and innovators are finding things to do with plastic now that's never been dreamed of. Some of you may have been in contact with the guy I have a couple of times who wants to start a way to grow mushrooms on plastic, and he has a tentative contract with the Volkswagen Corporation to use the byproduct as a leather in their cars out of mushrooms, which we'll see where that goes in the long term. But there are innovative things being done with recycling that we never thought of in the past. And recycling is getting some efforts across the country as the cost of other materials are increasing. And I think this is a program that its day is finally coming.
Thank you.
I was just saying, if you get stuck in a Volkswagen, you can boil your dashboard up. and
Eat your lunch, eat your
fine.
seat.
You'll be
Yeah.
all right. Okay, it sounds to me like I've got a couple people that are in favor of moving forward with this, and we'll see it on a future agenda then at some point.
Okay, we will proceed.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Our ducks in a row. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then council, we'll move to agenda item 5, council advisory board updates. Let's start on this side of the table here on the right side so that Corey, he's going to have to leave here in a few minutes, and so.
Not a whole lot to report. These committees are fantastic committees, great people to work with. Number one, the golf committee, we canceled our June meeting and we will reconvene the next meeting, July 24th. One of the things that we keep talking about or keeps coming up in conversation is a clubhouse. And then some of the watering issues at some of these, at a couple of the holes on the courses. NeighborWorks Pocatello, Bonneville Commons is filling up. There's still room in some of these places. Some of it's still under construction. They've got multiple different renting facilities, and they have some mechanisms for lending for people who are looking to get into homes, and remodel efforts also. They have a tool library for different neighborhoods for people to be able to check out tools if they're looking to do work in their neighborhood or in their homes. They're looking at expanding some of these neighborhoods possibly if people are looking to or excited about creating a neighborhood and a neighborhood that's not one of the historic neighborhoods. The Housing Authority, we have one board member who is being replaced. And so excited about adding a new board member onto, that should be coming on this next
I think we have one on this next agenda. I
yeah.
think we did one just before, so you should have
Yeah.
2.
So we'll be adding new board members there. The Housing Authority is doing good. There's a lot of vouchers that are still out there. So if you are a landlord and you're looking at ways to fill up properties, that is a great avenue to go through. With this new executive director, Jared Mangum, no relation, nice guy. He's,
Looks like a twin to me, but.
I mean, we could be cousins. I don't, twin brothers. But nice guy. He's got some great experience, got some great vision for how to move forward the housing issues here in Pocatello via the Housing Authority. And so I really look forward to working with him and being an advisor further on that committee.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Paulson.
I have not had any meetings last month because lack of business and summer break.
And you got on the right committee. Lucky. I will just very quickly, I've got the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. We finished up our last meeting of the year. In May, we added a free pantry over at the rec center, which these 2 free pantries, we have one right out here in the parking lot and then one over by the rec center. They get utilized an awful lot. The students put food in them and they do that on a weekly basis. And I say the students, I mean Ann and Marlies do it most of the time. The students every now and again show up to do it. And so it's, they done a great job with that. We do have a couple that are going to the Association of Idaho Cities conference next week, and so that's they're gearing up for that, and so that should be a good time for them as well. Rick?
Question, your food pantries are all exterior to a building, correct?
Yes.
So is the heat that's coming this summer going to cause a problem with what people might viably put into those?
We don't think so because most of it's dry and dry goods and stuff. They put a number of things. There's some canned foods occasionally that may overheat if it gets super hot. But we've got this one that's over here in the shade. The other one over there is fairly shaded as well, and so they put them in pretty good places. But then they have a lot of personal items and stuff that you can go and get, and it's good. We've had some community members that have donated time and money for those as well, and then the biggest supporter probably that we've had is that grocery outlet. They've just been amazing. If council wanted to see, I could take you back to their pantry they have back here, and it's just stocked full of stuff from grocery outlet. That they just keep bringing stuff over, which is great. So that would be my report.
I
Brent.
have nothing to report.
Okay,
Oh,
Linda.
I thought you were going to give me a minute. I am just completely blanking on what my fourth assignment is, but I'll start with Bannock Transportation and Planning Organization, and both the mayor and Rick are on that too, so you can add anything. I guess the big thing I'll talk about there is the SMART grant, and we met on Monday this week, and we approved moving forward with that, and that's all about re-signaling some main corridors in Pocatello, so with updated new equipment and everything. So things are going well there, and we're also looking at the executive director for that organization is getting ready to retire, so we are looking at starting to figure out who will be his replacement, hiring the next director and kind of phasing him out and the new person in and having some overlap to help with that. So that will be a big thing coming up. Audit and Investment Committee, we meet quarterly, and things are going very well there. That's a new committee, so we're sort of finding our way and looking at how things are going. I would say the investment side is very strong. Our CFO has looked for ways to find good investments for the city, and I think that's going really well. We also put out an RFP for an audit company, and we worked on that. We all reviewed the RFP, we put that out, and we are going with the same company we've gone with before, but we got a good response and a good cost or price on that. So we're proceeding. We're renewing our contract for 3 years, 5 years, I can't remember. But anyway, that's been settled. And Historic Downtown Board for the downtown businesses. The last meeting I had to miss with a medical procedure, but things are going well there. One of the challenges, I'll call it, that the Historic Downtown Organization was facing is the closure of Center Street Underpass is going through the summer. So they've been working really hard on finding ways to advertise all of what's going on and get people downtown during the summer to make sure that our events and everything are continuing. And that's going really well. They've added a number of things to the roster, flea market thing, the food truck roundup is going really well, Revive at 5 is going really well. All the what do you call it, the Saturday farmers market. But they've added several things to that lineup and are working on just making sure that the public is aware that things are still happening downtown and just letting people know the other ways that they can get down there with Center Street Underpass being closed. Did you want to?
I'm going to have Jeff speak on that in just a minute, but your
Okay.
last
What is
thing
my-
was PDA.
PDA, the big one. That was the one I couldn't remember. And we met yesterday, and actually it was a really good meeting where we had hired a consulting firm to look at 3 potential TIF districts, new urban renewal districts. And they did an eligibility study on all 3, and all 3 are eligible and viable and we're interested. But the vote yesterday was to move forward with one of the 3, and that's the South Fifth corridor. We were looking at sort of what is most ready to proceed, because if you start a new TIF district, the sooner you're ready to go with projects, the better, because, there's a time limit on that, and so you don't want to run the clock down. And that one looked like the most ready to go. And so the next phase then, we've given the consultant the go-ahead to do the feasibility study. They did eligibility, now they will do feasibility, and then after that, we would have to look at, developing a plan and all the details of how you would, looking at the cost analysis and how that would move forward.
And then after all the planning and everything, that's when the council gets involved. Is that right?
Yes. So we would then have to, the PDA will present to the council what that plan is, and then we would get involved and we would have to ultimately approve that. The PDA would oversee it. And they're also in the process of talking about potential for 3 new TIF districts. We discussed closing existing TIF districts, and there's 2 that are probably pretty close to being able to be closed, and a 3rd that is fairly close. So I felt strongly about, I don't want to just keep adding things without closing other things. We don't want to have too many open, but everybody agreed on that. So it's kind of exciting to look at moving forward. The South Fifth is the one that was voted as the top priority, but the second one that we would probably look at pretty soon is historic downtown. And look at, because there's some projects there that are probably fairly close to getting going too. So that's it.
Good.
Thank you.
Jeff, I asked you to come up. She mentioned the Center Street underpass. We had a meeting earlier and this week, and I thought it might be good for you to give the council an update on our thought process there.
Absolutely. So Jeff Mansfield, Public Works Director and City Engineer. So with the Center Street underpass, we've done some work down there. The Water Department has installed a new water line through there. And they've come in and they've done a bunch of the spall repairs and the crack injections and things like that in the area underneath the overpass itself. They've demoed a little bit of the railing out and stuff like that. But we've run into some unanticipated delays as far as some of our railroad submittal approvals, and then also acquisition of shoring materials and things like that. And so we've talked to LTAC and the contractor, and they're getting us together a price to come in there and do an overlay and allow us to temporarily reopen that overpass until we can get through this delay. And then once we get everything finalized as far as the approvals and the acquisition of materials, then we'll reclose it at that time. So, yeah.
So we're 6 to 8 weeks out. It sounded like when we talked earlier about 6 to 8 weeks out, and instead of leaving it closed and no work being done for 6 to 8 weeks, we would rather get it opened back up so that we've got commerce going back and forth until we get that material and everything done, and then close it back down.
One of the major submittals we're waiting for right now from the railroad is the shoring submittal. And so the contractor can't even buy the shoring materials until he gets the approval from the Union Pacific Railroad. And so once he gets that approval, then he'll acquire the shoring materials and then be ready to move back on site. So.
Yeah.
Could I just comment on this too? I'm glad that you asked Jeff to give this update, because this is another project that I'm seeing all kinds of things on social media, and there's just rumors out there about, everything from running out of money to not planning properly and all these kinds of things. So I'm glad to hear the facts on this and what's going on, and to just kind of put some of these other rumors to rest. So thank you.
People love rumors.
Yeah, on that note, we have kept pedestrian access through there the whole time, but the vehicle access has been restricted or cut off. But we're going to try to reopen it. Like I say, we're waiting for costs and timelines from the contractor. But once we get that, we'll try to get that expedited as much as possible. So.
And you're hopefully getting those answers this week.
Yeah. We've got a meeting on it Monday morning, I think, Monday or Tuesday morning.
So hopefully Monday morning we have an answer and possibly reopen by the end of next week or the week after.
See when he can get the paving people out there. Yeah.
We have somebody that could do the paving probably and charge him for it.
Yeah. I know Tom's plate's pretty full.
I know it is, but we'll figure that out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rick?
The Senior Center, I want to thank you for talking about the sidewalk this morning. That's been of grave concern after the damage that the Senior Center and the board addressed this winter when they had snow pile up so deep and all drain into their building 6 to 10 feet all along the west side. So I'll pass the word that that is probably going to move on. We can get started and try and get that done this summer. Thank you. The Senior Center's raised some money. They had a big car show last Saturday. Had, I think it was 80 cars show up, and there was some beautiful stuff. For me personally, the highlight was a 1970 AMC Javelin, which I happen to have owned once upon a time. When I first got out of college, I had one of those. But it was beautifully, beautifully decorated. Of course, Bill Lynn brought his wife, I should say, Judy brought her truck up. Lots of stuff, great attendance. They raised, they think, around $7,000 at that car show. And that will help to offset their monthly loss that they're experiencing because of the cost of food increases. The reimbursement rate they and Meals on Wheels receives only $3.25. And it costs nearly $15 to produce a meal for those people when you figure the building and food costs and so forth. They're using the food bank to help supplement some of their food costs, but they're still losing almost $12 a meal for every meal that they serve. And that is a potential long-term problem for our nutrition program at the Senior Center. They do have a golf tournament coming up in September if anybody wants to play golf. But things are going fairly well over there. They've done a lot of repainting. They've had a lot of private organizations come in over the last year and contribute some labor and carpet and things, and the place on the inside really looks nice. It's a whole renovation from when I was first there 6 or 7 years ago for the first time.
And when do they serve chicken fried steak?
You have to look at the calendar.
Okay.
There's not a regular schedule. Linda pretty well covered Bannock Transportation with Maury leaving. You know, the thing that struck me this last meeting is how many of the construction projects that are being done through Bannock Transportation are being done in the city of Pocatello. We're getting, frankly, it looked like more than our share of the money that's going through that organization. We're doing really well we're doing really well with grants and applications and using those funding as it comes available to make improvements for the community.
Yes.
And the last thing is the airport. There are a lot of new leases, a lot of renewed interest in hangar space at the airport, and we've talked about this before. And it's general aviation and commercial aviation are all looking for new spaces and new opportunities to do things out there. And in addition, Driscoll Tope is looking at an expansion out there that I think we'll see on the agenda probably at our next meeting. They want to add about 20 acres to their lease for covered hay in an effort to expand to 150,000 tons a year of hay that they're processing out of this area, which would be a benefit to agriculture throughout our region. That hay currently is setting in fields until it rots so the elk get to it in the winter, and it's ruined. So they want to get it in here, get it stored, so they'll have more of a year-round operation. And that's going to add, well, we'll see how it all comes out, but it's going to add several $1,000s to the income at the airport. And there's a lot of good things happening out there. The passenger load continues to increase. Surprisingly, fuel sales are off from what it was in the past, even though our landings are up. But what will change that is if we have a good fire season this year. And you hate to hope for fire, but it would be good for the airport if that were to happen. But not good for everybody else. But
That always makes me feel guilty.
I know, it does me too. But things are going well at the airport.
Super. Okay, thank you. Council, thank you very much for being here this morning and stuff. Thank you for the direction on the ARPA funds and the direction on the recycling program. What else did we talk about? The United Seniors Project. Just so you know, you saw the letter that is recommended or some wording. It'll probably change a little bit, but I'll have Ann get that done. And so next week sometime you could come in and sign that. That'd be great. We'll have her reach out to you so that you know that's prepared. for you. And then with that, thank you very much again, and we are adjourned.